Arizona, where jury selection begins for a new trial involving Lori Vallow Daybell. Daybell is accused of plotting to kill her ex-husband 2 years ago.
She believed she was a god preparing for the end of the world. Her victims.
A judge convicted her of murdering her 2 children. CBS News correspondent Andres Gutierrez reports this time she's pleaded not guilty and is representing herself.
Her own children, a romantic rival, and multiple husbands who stood in the way of her twisted destiny. Already serving life sentences in Idaho for murdering 2 of her children. Lori Vallow Daybell faced Arizona courts twice more in 2025, this time for orchestrating the deaths of her 4th husband and attempting to kill her niece's ex-husband. What unfolded in those Phoenix courtrooms shocked even seasoned prosecutors. This is the complete story of the Doomsday Mom's Arizona trials. Background: to understand the Arizona cases, we need to go back to where it all began. Lori Vallow seemed like an ordinary mother when she married Charles Vallow in 2006. Their blended family included Tylee Ryan from Lori's previous marriage and 7-year-old Jay Vallow, Charles's nephew, whom they adopted together. But everything changed when Lori discovered the apocalyptic writings of Charles Daybell, a self-published doomsday author. By early 2019, Charles Vallow was terrified. In February, he went to police with a chilling warning his wife had threatened to murder him and believed she was a god assigned to prepare 144,000 people for Christ's second coming in July 2020. According to court documents, Lori told Charles directly, "You're not Charles. I don't know who you are or what you did with Charles, but I can murder you now with my powers." But it wasn't just threats. Lori and Chad Daybell had developed a bizarre belief system involving zombies, people whose souls had been taken over by dark spirits. Charles wasn't Charles anymore, they claimed. He was possessed by a spirit named Ned, or Hiplos. Text messages retrieved by investigators showed Lori referring to her husband as a demon and discussing the need to eliminate zombies. Charles changed his $1 million life insurance policy in February 2019, removing Lori as beneficiary and naming his sister Kay instead. He filed for divorce. He was desperately trying to save himself and his children. He never got the chance. The murder of Charles Vallow, July 11, 2019. Charles Vallow arrived at Lori's home in Chandler, Arizona, to pick up JJ for school. What happened next would be the first in a series of calculated killings. According to the 911 call, Lori's brother Alex Cox claimed Charles attacked him with a baseball bat during an argument, forcing Cox to shoot him in self-defense. Both Lori and her daughter Tylee corroborated the story. Charles was shot twice, once in the abdomen and once through the heart. Police initially accepted the self-defense claim, but the evidence told a different story. The medical examiner testified that the wound pattern showed Charles was already lying on the floor when the second fatal shot was fired through his heart. He wasn't standing and attacking, he was down, possibly already dying. Phone records revealed something even more disturbing. After shooting Charles, Alex Cox waited 43 minutes before calling 911. During that time, he called Lori. Chandler police discovered Lori's web browsing history from a month before the murder. She'd been researching Social Security survivor benefits. A week after Charles's death, she texted Chad Daybell expressing disappointment that Charles had changed his life insurance beneficiary, but mentioned she'd still receive $4,000 monthly in Social Security benefits. She could only have known about that eligibility through her pre-murder research. Text messages between Lori, Chad, and Alex revealed the conspiracy. After Charles's death, one message referenced a Nephi and Laban ending, a Book of Mormon story where the prophet Nephi is commanded by God to kill Laban with a sword. They believed the killing was divinely justified. Alex Cox died from a blood clot in December 2019, just 5 months after killing Charles. He was never charged with any crime. The attempted murder of Brandon Bodrox 3 months after Charles Vallow's murder. On October 2, 2019, Brandon Bodrox, the ex-husband of Lori's niece, was leaving his home in Gilbert, Arizona when a Jeep drove by and someone fired a rifle shot at him. The bullet missed. Bodrox immediately called 911, telling police he believed Alex Cox was driving the vehicle. He recognized the Jeep as belonging to a family member. Prosecutors alleged that Lori and Alex conspired to murder Bodrox as well, though the motive remained less clear than in Charles Vallow's case. Like Charles, Brandon had opposed the extreme religious beliefs consuming the family. In Lori and Chad's worldview, anyone who disagreed with them was labeled as dark or possessed by evil spirits, and eliminating them became a religious mission. The Idaho crimes and convictions. While Arizona investigated Charles's death, even more horrific crimes were unfolding in Idaho. In September 2019, Lori moved her children to Rexburg, Idaho, closer to Chad Daybell. Tylee Ryan was last seen on September 9. 7-year-old Jay Vallow disappeared on September 23. On October 19, 2019, Chad Daybell's wife Tammy died suddenly of what appeared to be natural causes. Just 17 days later, Chad and Lori were married in Hawaii. On June 9, 2020, authorities found the remains of Tylee and JJ buried on Chad Daybell's Idaho property. The discovery shocked the nation. Lori had been telling people the children were fine, even that they were visiting relatives or at college, despite JJ being only 7 years old. In May 2023, an Idaho jury found Lori Vallow Daybell guilty of murdering both children and conspiring to murder Tammy Daybell. She received 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Chad Daybell was convicted in May 2024 and sentenced to death. The Arizona trials after her Idaho sentencing. Lori was extradited to Arizona to face charges for Charles Vallow's murder and Brandon Bodrox's attempted murder. The cases would be tried separately, and in a stunning move, Lori chose to represent herself at both trials despite having no legal training. Her first Arizona trial for conspiring to murder Charles Vallow began on March 31, 2025. Lori represented herself, cross-examining witnesses including her own surviving brother, Alex Cox, who testified he had, no doubt, his sister conspired with their brother Alex to kill Charles. He described how Lori had been making odd religious comments and how he and Charles had planned an intervention before the murder. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence, text messages about zombies and possessed spirits, Lori's pre-murder research into survivor benefits, the forensic evidence contradicting the self-defense story, and the 43-minute delay before calling 911. Prosecutor Trina Kay called it a premeditated execution. Lori presented no witnesses and no evidence. In her closing argument, she insisted, "This event was not a crime, it was a tragedy. Don't let them turn my family tragedy into a crime." On April 20, 2025, the jury found her guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Jurors later described her demeanor as unserious, often smiling and laughing during proceedings. Her second trial for the attempted murder of Brandon Bodrox began in June 2025. Again representing herself, Lori claimed in her opening statement that she had nothing to do with the shooting. But the evidence, including the identification of the Jeep and the timing, convinced the jury. On June 12, 2025, she was found guilty. Sentencing in aftermath on July 25, 2025, Lori Vallow Daybell stood before Judge Justin Bereski in a Phoenix courtroom for sentencing. Family members delivered devastating victim impact statements. Colby Ryan, Lori's eldest son and Charles's stepson, spoke virtually, "Not only are my father, sister, and brother gone, but so is my mother." Starting 6 years ago, the horror began. Judge Bereski sentenced Lori to 2 additional consecutive life sentences, one for each Arizona conviction, to run consecutively with her Idaho sentences. "You've shattered lives, you've undermined trust, you've sowed fear in the hearts of many," the judge said. As Lori was led away, someone in the courtroom shouted, "Lori, rot in prison." Outside, Kay Woodcock, Charles's sister, had a message for the convicted killer. "We gotcha, and you're not the smartest person in the room. Everybody's going to forget about you." Lori Vallow Daybell is now serving multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole. She has filed appeals in both the Idaho and Arizona cases. Her current husband, Chad Daybell, sits on death row in Idaho. The Lori Vallow Daybell case stands as one of the most disturbing crime stories in American history. A woman who used twisted religious beliefs to justify murdering her own children and orchestrating the deaths of anyone who stood in the way of her delusions. The Arizona trials brought additional justice for Charles Vallow and Brandon Bodrox, ensuring that every victim's story was told and every crime prosecuted. If you found this deep dive into the case informative, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our coverage of major true crime cases. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and check out our playlist for more in-depth case coverage. Thanks for watching, and remember, justice may be delayed, but it doesn't have to be denied.